طيب بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I'd like to welcome you all to the uh, second lecture of week 14 of ICS 104. Any questions before we proceed? Any questions, يا شباب? No questions? Okay, that's good. So I hope everything is clear. So let me go to the slides. Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes, Dr.
Okay, very good. So basically, what we did last week was we looked at uh, how can a function, use the input arguments as also output parameters, and we looked at the function, the files. How does C, read from a file and write into a file, and it was kind of similar to C, but of course, there were some differences. And what we will do today is we will basically take more examples of how can we use functions and input arguments to basically to be used as also output as also output parameters. So let us start with the following example. This is an example function with input and output parameters. So I will have input parameters and I will have output parameters. Okay. So what does this function do? Well, the idea behind this function is that it will take a double number, a real number, and we know that a real number consists of three parts. It consists of the sign, it consists of the whole part, and it consists of the fractional part. And the idea is I would like to extract each part alone. Okay, so this function separate here separates a number into three parts: a sign, which is positive, negative, or blank. When does a number? When do you think it will be blank? It's neither positive nor negative. Exactly. When it is zero. When it is zero, it doesn't have a sign. Huh? When it is zero, it doesn't have a sign. And then a whole number magnitude, that's the whole part. And the fractional part will be, which is the fractional part. Okay. So this is basically my function, separate. You can see here double number. This is the input, right? This is the value where we would like to split, the three parts. And we chose to have the output, the sign, as a character, right? The sign, we will save it in a character. Now, since I want to return this as a value, here I specified sign P is actually a pointer to a character, because I want to, get that value in the main program. Okay, I want to get that value in the main program. And similarly for the whole part, it's a pointer to an integer. It's not an integer. And the fractional part is a pointer to double. It's not a double. Okay, why? Because all these are output parameters. All of these are output parameters. Okay, right. So the function actually is kind of simple. First of all, we are defining here the magnitude. We will look at the magnitude will be basically, the whole part, as we will see in just a second. So first we determine the sign. So if the number is less than zero, number, remember, is the input, right? The number is the input. So if the input is less than zero, then star sign P is the negative sign. Otherwise, if it's equal to 0, then it's the blank, which is a character. Else, of course, it is positive. Okay, else it is positive. So this basically finishes, separating the sign. Now we will see what is the magnitude. Well, the magnitude is the absolute value of the number, and therefore the whole part will be basically floor of the magnitude, will be the floor of the magnitude, صح؟ يعني let's just to have it, so assume that we had the number 19.7. Okay, let's make it more interesting. Negative 19.7. So what will be the sign in this case? Well, since the number is less than 0, the sign is negative, صح? Star sign P equal minus. طيب. And then what will happen? Magnitude equal the absolute value of the number. So the magnitude is equal to what? What is the absolute value of minus 19.7?
19.7.
It's 19.7, right? That's the magnitude. So now, what is the whole part? Well, this is the whole part, صح? The 19. And this is the fractional part. How do I extract them? Well, if you apply floor of the magnitude, you will get the 19. Okay? The floor function, the floor function. The floor function is basically the largest integer that is less than or equal to the number, right? That's the definition of the floor function. So we will have the 19. And how do we get the 7? Well, if you subtract the whole part from the magnitude, if you subtract the whole part from the magnitude, you will get the fractional. Okay, you will get the fractional part. And as you can see, I'm returning these back to my function, back to the main program, back to the calling function, because I need them in the name. If it was not defined as a pointer to a double, or a pointer to an integer, or a pointer to a double, I will not get it in the main program. So let's look at the whole code. So this is basically the whole code, and this is the function that we talked about, the function separate. You can see here I defined separate so that it is accessible in main. It will not generate any warning if we call it in main without seeing it. So this is the first time. This is the header of the separate function, and this is basically the main program. Let's basically copy the whole thing. Okay, so this is basically the whole program. As you can see, we first enter a value to analyze, and we enter the value, which is basically a double, and we're using scanf. Don't forget the ampersand, because we are reading. And here, we will separate the data value into 3 parts. And as you can see, the sign here, the sign is character, the whole part is an integer, and the fractional part is a double. But when I call the function separate, I don't use the sign, I use the address of sign, I use the address of the whole part, and I use the address of the fractional part, so that they will be updated. SN will change in the main program, so that SN will change in the main program, and this is basically where I print my result. So let's run it to see how this goes. So if I press F9, so enter a value to analyze. Let's enter our negative 19 point, what do you want, 3, for example, right? Let's say 3, 2. So if we run this, as you can see, the sign is negative. The whole number magnitude is the 19, and the fractional part is the 0.32. And indeed, these values were changed. Indeed, these values were were changed. So do you see now the wisdom behind, in scanf, I have the ampersand. It's so that, this value actually, uh, uh, changes because again, the call is by default by value. When we put the ampersand, now it became by reference or by the address of the variable. Any question, ya shabab, before we proceed? Any question on this example before we proceed? Okay, that's good. So let's move on then. Okay, so now let's look at the meaning of the star symbol. How many meanings did we have now for the star symbol? Now we have studied three meanings for the star. The first one is that it's the binary multiplication operator. If you want to multiply two numbers, you use the star. So this is the first meaning. Second meaning, defining the data type pointer to in declaring variables. If you want to declare a variable that is a pointer to an integer, that is a pointer to a double, that is a pointer to a character, you use the star, right? For example, character and then star sign p. So this is defining a variable sign p, which is a pointer to a character value. And then we have, or a character variable, accessing a variable indirectly through its address. So this is that's why this is called indirect addressing, right? So when I say star sign p, then I'm basically accessing, the variable, and I can basically assign it to, like the minus or the plus or the blank. So these are the three meanings of star that we have seen. These are the three meanings of the star that we have seen. Right. So in order to make sure that you're not sleeping uh, on your beds, and if you are, uh, please, sit and uh, hurry, put your laptop in front of you. Uh, Write a prototype, and this is, by the way, very easy. It's not hard. Write a prototype for a function sum n average. Sum and n average, which stands for sum and average. Okay, so it's kind of an abbreviation, sum and average, that has three typed double input parameters. We have n1, n2, n3. These are three input parameters that are of type double. Okay, and it has two output parameters. Two output parameters, which are basically sum and average. Now, since they are output, they should be pointers, right? So that's why I put here sum p and average p. The function computes the sum and the average of its three input arguments and relays its results through two output parameters. So what are you going to do in the function? The function will have three input arguments, n1, n2, n3. You will add them up. You will find their average, and you will return the sum and the average. Okay? You will return the sum and the average. And this will be done in a single function. This will be done in a single function. Right. So the following code fragment is from a function preparing to call sum and average. So you need to complete the function call. You need to complete the function call statement. You need to complete the function call statement. Okay. So let's assume that this is my part of a function in the main program. Double 1, 2, 3. This is basically n1. This is n2, and this is n3, right? And I have the sum of the three and the average of the three. This is what I want to get as output. So it says here print enter three numbers, okay, and then scan F, and as you can see here, now maybe this is the first time we see this. We are actually reading three values at the same time. Huh? We are reading three values at the same time. So this is the first value, which is &1, and then &2, and then &3. So I will store n1 in the variable 1, n2 in the variable 2, and n3 in the variable 3. So now I need somebody to tell me the function call to sum and average, right? The function call to sum and average. See here, it says write a prototype for a function that has three type double input parameters. So it didn't even ask you to write the function, okay? It's just kind of the header, right? It's just the header, but along with the header, we want, this function call. What will be this function call? يلا يا شباب on the chat. Let me see on the chat what will be the function call. So you will put sum and average between brackets. What are you going to put here? If you know that this is what we need from the function. It takes three input arguments, n1, n2, n3, and it returns the sum and the average. يلا يا شباب. Let me see your answer. يا شباب, it's taking you too much time. طيب خلينا نشوف بدر كده 1 2 3. طب وين الفانكشن كول يا بدر؟ يعني at least write sum underscore n underscore average وبعدين حط البراكتس بعدين اكتب اللي بدك اياه. صح؟
صحيح بس نسألت اللي داخل أقواس بس عشان كذا.
اوكي my bad. لا please write it all.
طيب أبشر.
write it all. بس before you hit return remember انه we need السم والافرج. انا ماني شايفهم. وين السم والافرج؟
هذا ما بيكون return value بعد ما نسوي call function.
Can we return more than one value in C?
والله ما بعرف.
طيب خلينا نشوف. Let's see what Abdulaziz has written. In fact, let me do this. Let me start a notepad here so that you can see what we are doing. Okay. Okay. So this is the notepad here, and let us get the answer of Abdulaziz, and then we will discuss it. Let me make it a little bit bigger. more. ايش رايكم؟ كده واضحه يا شباب صح؟ اوكي طيب ممتاز. So ايش رايكم what do you think regarding his answer? First of all, is this correct? Star 1, star 2, star 3? I think what he meant here is star 3. Is this correct يا شباب?
It should be without stars.
Why it should be without stars?
We want to access the values only.
Because we want to access the values. الديفينيشن تبعهم يا عبد العزيز هي double 1 double 2 و double 3. they are already double variable. You don't need the star. صح؟ احنا we're not returning anything. We're not returning anything. So there is no need for the star. There is no need for the star. طيب الآن I have sum of 3 و average of 3. Sum of 3 average of 3. Is this correct?
We need the ampersand.
ايوه هون we need الامبرساند يا عبد العزيز. Okay, here we need the ampersand. Why? Because we want to call it by the address. We want to call it by the address. And look here, the function itself is actually it's some pointer average point. It's basically a pointer to a double and a pointer to another double, right? So in this case, since I have the sum of 3 is defined as double, so if I want the reference, I just need the ampersand. I just need the ampersand. واضح يا شباب؟
واضح.
واضح يا همام؟ همام got it صح؟ همام got it. So sum and average 1 2 3 بعدين الامpersand sum of 3 الامpersand average of 3. ممتاز. Okay? طيب. Okay, so let's move on then. Let's now go to multiple calls to a function with input-output parameters. This is a very interesting, example. We will not learn any new thing. Okay, we will not learn any new thing, but we will see how we can use the fact that I'm calling by reference. We can use it to come up with really interesting, functionality. Non-trivial tasks, let's put it this way, okay? So we can define a function in which some input arguments can also act as output results. Some input arguments can also act as output results. Consider developing a function order that orders the double values in its arguments. So what is this order? I'll get 2 values, okay? I just want to make sure that the first value is less than the second value. So if the first value was less than or equal to the second value, I don't have to do anything. طيب. If the first value was greater than the second value, what should I do? Swap. Okay, swap. So first of all, what shall the type of the arguments of the function order be? ايش رايكم؟ the type of the arguments, should it be like doubles or it should be pointers to doubles? Remember, I might change them. صح?
Pointers.
It should be pointers, right? It should be pointers. So the type of argument shall be a pointer to a double, a pointer to a double. And this is basically the function, right? So void, and of course, whenever we use void, this means that the function here, I will not see return. It will not return anything, any value, right? So void order, and then double star SMP double star LGP. So this is a pointer to double. This is a pointer to double, and I want this to be the value here is less than this value. Okay, so this is a temporary variable, to do the switch. And when do we do the switch? We will only do the switch if star SMP, the value pointed to by SMP, is greater than star LGP. Okay, in that case, I would like to swap them because I want this value to be here and this value to be here. How do I do that? Very straightforward. Temp equals star SMP equals star LGP, and then star LGP equals temp. We're done. Okay, so now this function, if you give it 2 arguments, basically, if you do it by address, for example, if there were 2 double values or 2 double variables, then you use the ampersand. Then you use the ampersand. So if you give them 2 double variables, it will make sure that the first variable, the value of the first variable is less than or equal to the value of the second variable. The value of the second variable. Right.
Doctor,
How is نعم.
can you go back, please?
Yes.
Yes, here in the argument of the function, can we use single, double, and separate the variables by commas?
Yes. Well, just a second. Well, we'll see that. I'm not sure we will see that. We'll try it. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. Okay. So this is until now. It seems a very simple function. Okay. It seems a very simple function. Now look at what we are going to do with this function. Now consider the problem of sorting 3 input numbers. Assume that you have 3 numbers and you want them sorted. You want num1 to hold the smallest of the 3 values, num2 to hold the middle of the 3 values, and num3 to hold the largest of the 3 values. How can we do it using that function, the function that we created? How can we do it using the function that we created? It turns out to be a very interesting thing. You know, if we do this, order num1, num2, order num1, num3, and order num2, num3. If you make these 3 calls, after you make the 3 calls, the numbers will be sorted. Num1 will contain the smallest, num2 will contain the middle, and num3 will contain the highest. How? Well, let us trace it. Okay, let's assume that num1 is equal to 7.5, num2 is equal to 9.6, and num3 is equal to 5.5. Okay, now when I call order num1, num2, num1 is 7.5, num2 is 9.6. Anything changes? Do we need to make any changes?
No.
No, because 7.5 is already less than 9.6, right? So here, no change will happen. Right. Now let's call order on num1 and num3. What is num1? 7.5. Num3, 5.5. What should be the output of this?
Swapping between
Swapping.
5.5 and 7.5.
Swapping between 5.5 and 7. So the 7.5 will go to num3, and the 5.5 will go to num1. So 5.5, as you can see, 5.5 now is in num1, and 7.5 is in num3. So this is after the second call. After the third call, what is the third call? The third call is order num2, num3. What is num2? Num2 is 9.6. What is num3? Num3 is 7.5. So when we call order num2, num3, what will happen?
It will swap between num2 and num3.
It will swap between the two. Okay, it will swap between the two. So now num 9.6 will go to num3, and 7.5 will go to num2. Now look at what happened after the 3 calls. Interesting, huh? You just repeatedly called the function 3 times, and lo and behold, you have all the numbers, all the 3 numbers sorted. You have all the 3 numbers. Sorted. So now let's come to the function order. Well, how does the function order should look like? Well, as you can see here, we need to call it by a pointer or address. Now, since num1, num2, num3 are doubles, then what we will do is we will use the ampersand, right? We will use the ampersand, and the order function will be basically so the first argument of the order function will be double, will a pointer to double. The first argument of the order function.
Pointer to double.
Pointer to double. And similarly also, the second argument shall be a pointer to double. So this is basically, ya shabab, this is basically the order function. So double star SMP, double star LGP, and this is the function, the function order, and this is the main function where we define num1, num2, num3. We get their values using the ampersand, and next we call order on their addresses in order to make them to order them. Now, previously in this example, we had this is middle, highest, lowest. So let's do it. Let's do the input sorted in reverse order: highest, middle, lowest. Okay. Let's run it this way. So let me get this code here. Control C, and let me come here. Control V. Okay. Oops. Control V. Hopefully now it's better. So now let's do F9 and enter three numbers separated by blanks, right? Separated by blanks, or basically white spaces, not necessarily blanks. So what do we have? Let's say 10.7 and هنا حطيت 20 مليون blank so that you can see يا شباب. 10.7 let's say, for example, 5.3 and negative 1.1. So look at what's going to happen. The numbers in ascending order are negative 1.1, 5.3, and 10.7 and 10.7. Okay, right. So now let's go to the question Abdulaziz asked. Can I do this? Double star SMP and then star LGP. Well, if I do F9 here, it gave expected declaration specifiers before the star token. So it's not like in the main program where you can do it. In the main program, you can do it. You can say double, num1, num2, or star num1, star num2, right? But in the function header, you have to specify each. You have to specify each variable. You have to specify each variable in the function header. You have to specify each variable in the. Does that answer your question, Abdulaziz?
Yes, thanks.
Very good. Okay, Shabab. Any question before we move on? Okay. Right. So this is kind of, a summary of the different types of functions in C language. So to compute or obtain as input a single numeric or character value, you can just make the function return that value, right? You can make that function return that value. So you will have a return statement with an expression of containing the result. To produce printed output containing values of numeric or character arguments. So you just want to print something. You don't want to return anything. Then the function can be of type void, right? And the input parameters will be the input data, and there is no result. It will be basically displayed. To compute multiple numeric, character results, then we can use void as a function type, And if you want to return, for example, a certain integer, you can also do that. It depends, but we can, say that we can make it void. But then, whatever we want to return as an output, we have to declare it as a pointer to that type, right? So input parameters hold copies of data. Output parameters are pointers to actual arguments, and the results will be stored in the pointers to actual arguments. To modify the argument values, of course, the difference between, this line and this line is that in this line here, we can have the same variable to be both input and output. Okay, that's the only difference. Here, we have the input parameters are, doubles or integers. The outputs are pointers too, right? Here, all of them are pointer to. Because I'm taking input and I might also return a result in them. So that's the difference between the two. So this is kind of a summary of the different types of functions in C. So now let's move on to the last topic in our course, which is basically the scope of names. Now, what is the scope of names? Well, the scope of a name refers to the region of a program where a particular meaning of a name is visible or can be referenced. Like, for example, when you define a variable, where can I access that variable? Can I access it in main? Can I access it in this function? Can I access it in that function? Okay, so this is what we will learn regarding the scope of names. So, let's now mention the rules, and then we will go to the final example, right? So the scope of constant macros begins at their definition and continues to the end of the source file. ايش هو السورس فايل يا شباب؟ اللي هو this one. This is called the source file, right? This is called the source file. So the end of it, this is the end of it. The macros that you define here are accessible in the whole source file. طيب. A function subprogram begins with its prototype and continues to the end of the source file. Now, we're talking about a function subprogram with a prototype, right? Do we have one here? Yes, this is the prototype of order. This is the function header or the function prototype of the function order. So it is accessible from where I declared my header until the end. It will be accessible all over. Right. So that's the function prototype. The formal parameters and local variables extend from their declaration to the closing brace of the function in which they were declared. So as far as formal parameters and local variables, they are only basically local to their declaration environment, okay? Inside their function. Inshallah, we will see examples, okay? Right. So these are the rules in general. Now there is only one more rule, which is a local variable or a formal parameter may block the definition of a function if it has the same name. May block the definition of a function if it has the same name. And inshallah, we will see that in the following C code. Okay, we will see that in the following C code. Right. So let's now apply, whatever we have learned on, let's say, max and limit. So what are max and limit? What are these?
Constant.
These are constant macros, صح? What is their visibility? Well, it should be their visibility in all,
this file.
in every, صح? Until the end of the, so it's accessible in main, it's accessible in 1, it's accessible in fun2, especially there is no other thing that has been defined, صح? So here, and let me معلش, I will just do it this way. So for max and limit, it will be accessible in or visible in all of them. Okay? طيب. Now, what about function main? Well, function main, we haven't seen how do we call function main, right? How do we call function main? But basically, function main is also accessible in or visible in all of them, because especially, for example, when we call function one, after we finish the call, what will happen when we call function one from main? What will happen?
Return to main.
It will return to main. So it is visible, صح? So basically, main is visible all over the place, right? Main is visible in the whole source file. Right. Now let's look at the local variable in main. Now, where is the local variable? This is local variable. Local var in main. This is int local var. Where is this accessible?
Only in main.
Only in main. Okay. So this is accessible only in main. So it's not accessible in the rest. And just to make sure that we are, we are correct here. So this is limit and max are accessible all over. Main is accessible all over. Local variable is accessible in main, but is not visible in one or in function two, right? Because these functions here are the definition of a local variable does not extend beyond the function it was defined. Okay, fine. So let's go back. I don't know if we can continue writing here. Fine. So now the function one. This is function one. Where is it? Is it accessible in main?
Yes.
Yes, it is accessible in main. Okay. Function one is accessible in main. طيب. Is it accessible in one?
Yes.
Yes, it is. In fact, we didn't take it, but we could have called one from inside one. Recursive call, but we do not take recursion. So that's why we haven't seen it. طيب. Is the function one accessible in fun_2?
Yes.
وليش أنا بقول no؟
لأن في variable.
في formal parameter 1. فthis formal parameter blocks this function. This formal parameter, which is an integer, blocks this function. So it is not accessible in fun_2. It's not visible in fun_2. واضح يا شباب؟ واضح؟ طيب. Let's go to anarg, which is the integer one, because it seems we have two. We have an integer and we have a character. So anarg, int anarg, this one. Is it accessible in main?
No.
No. Is it accessible in one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is it accessible in fun_2?
No.
No, because it's a local variable. It's a formal parameter. It's a formal parameter of the function. It will only be accessible inside the function. Okay. And also, yeah, it will only be accessible inside the function. طيب. The variable second. When is variable second? This is the second one. It's a formal parameter in one. يلا يا شباب. Main.
No.
1.
Yes.
2. fun_2.
No.
No. طيب. Let's go to one local. One local. Where is one local? One local. Well, this is defined in function one. This is a local variable. Now,
It will
where
be
is
the
it?
same.
It will be the
second.
same. It will be the same like second. No, yes, no. طيب fun underscore 2. Fun underscore 2. Where is the accessible? Is it accessible in main?
Yes.
Yes. Fun underscore 2 is accessible in main. طيب is it accessible in 1?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, it is accessible in 1. And is it accessible in fun underscore 2?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay. طيب 1 which is the formal parameter. وين ال 1 اللي هو formal parameter? Well, this is the one which is the formal parameter because we have one which is a function, صح? This is one formal parameter. Now, where is this accessible?
In fun2 only.
Only in fun2. Only in fun2. It's not accessible here. It's not accessible here. طيب, what about the character anarg?
The same.
Same thing. Same thing. And what about local variable? This local variable, which is inside fun underscore 2. Remember, look at this. You know, although we have local variable here, local variable, they have no relationship whatsoever, صح?
Yes.
Totally different variables. Is it where is this accessible?
Only in fun too.
Only in fun 2. Okay, only in fun 2. So now if I move if we look at the results here, I wish I knew how to erase, but anyways, so basically you can see that well, actually this is nice because now we have these are. Can you see if we made any mistake, يا شباب? Okay, this one and this one. Do you see any difference?
Looks right.
Okay, that's good. So
Doctor?
everything. نعم.
The void one, is it like a global function?
The void one.
Yes.
When no, it's a function. It's not a global function. It's a function.
But
Void
we can
one.
access it from everywhere, I see.
Yeah, well, it has been because it has been declared the prototype. It can be accessed from main. It can be accessed from one. It can be accessed from it cannot be accessed from fun underscore 2 because I have a 1 here.
Okay.
Doctor, if the one here was a local variable, will it block the function one?
Yes. If you define int1 as a local variable, it will block function 1. But if you define it, if you use it before the definition or before the declaration, it's fine. Did you get me?
No, could you repeat, please?
يعني لو الفن underscore 2 the first statement was a call to function 1 and then the second statement was int 1.
The call will be executed.
The call will be executed.
Clear.
But after you define int 1, you will not be able to access the function 1.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, شباب?
Okay.
Any question? ترى we are done.
والدكتور الكونستنت كأنها الجلوبال variables في البايثون.
It's not global. يعني it is accessible as long as you can, in the whole source file, right? In the whole source file, it is accessible in the whole source file. It's not accessible in other source files. But we did not, take how can I, write programs that involve more than one source file. Okay. Okay, Stefan. So basically we are done, and this will be, our last meeting. inshallah, next Tuesday, I'll be here. If anybody wants any questions, so it's basically kind of an office hour, but alhamdulillah, we are done. And since we did not take any, you know, lecture breaks because of the midterm, so you can consider, you know, the next couple of lectures as our lecture break. I'm pretty sure that you need them, you know, to finish all your studying for quizzes or homeworks or projects. Okay?
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
Allah يعافيكم. I wish you all the best. Please do not forget to do the instructor evaluation. I get, you know, updates. Inshallah, I will send you. Also, there is another thing. We will do a course learning outcome evaluation survey. Inshallah, I will post it. I'll post it not only for us. I will post it basically for all the ICS 104 students. But I will do that maybe in the middle of the week or towards the end of this week. I wish you all the best ونراكم على خير إن شاء الله.
دكتور
نعم.
إلى متى الأوفيس أور موجود؟ إلى أي أسبوع؟ هذا الأسبوع ولا في ال15؟
الأحد next Sunday I will not be available. Next Sunday I will not be available. But Monday and afterwards, inshallah, I will. Okay.